Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Hi.
afternoon.
Okay. I was
Great.
testing. Great.
In just 2 minutes, you're going to roll. We're waiting
Okay.
for at least 2 more, and then we'll start it off.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Patricia from CIPESA, and I'll be moderating this session. If this is your first time joining our series, you're welcome. If you're returning, still you're welcome. Today we are going to be looking at inclusion, equity, and gender. This is the third public dialogue we're having on our series of the DPI series. Next week, we'll be having the last one, so please do join again. And today, we are going to be having perspectives or listening to our partners from Uganda, Rwanda, as well as Ethiopia. And if we all remember, from the 50 in 5 DPI I'm trying to move you into the panelists section. So please, Brenda, if you can see yes, you've now rejoined as a panelist. And to confirm, Thomas, can you hear me? Can you see me? I've just had an issue with my internet here.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
I've
can
been
hear
able to
you.
join.
Hello.
Yes, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I was worried that I was off out there. To start it off, I'll just take us through short and quick bios of our speakers of the day. We do have Brenda Muniraguha, who is a senior public sector leader in the Digital Governance and Project Manager at the National Information Technology Authority, Uganda, NITAU. She has over a decade of experience in digital transformation, data systems, public key infrastructure, and she's also been instrumental in shaping Uganda's DPI ecosystem, including projects such as the UG Pass, which is the National Digital Authentication and Electronic Signatures, as well as the UG Hub. Before I go far, let me first hit this. She's participated and led projects in Uganda, such as the UG Pass, which is the National Digital Authentication and Electronic Signatures, as well as the UG Hub, which is the National Data Integration Platform, and the Government Enterprise Architecture. Her leadership focuses on building interoperable, citizen-centric digital systems that enhance transparency, efficiency, and inclusion in government service delivery. Brenda's work integrates AI-driven analytics and data governance frameworks to strengthen decision-making and improve access to marginalized communities. So that is Brenda from NITAU in Uganda. We also have Henok Sise from Ethiopia. He's a technology consultant for the African IXP Association based in Ethiopia. He has previously served in a similar role with the Internet Society in the African region, where he provided critical technical support and contributed to various internet development initiatives and ecosystem events across the continent. He has over 15 years in the field, and he'll be taking us through the perspectives from Ethiopia as one of the leading countries when it comes to rolling out DPIs on the African continent. And then we'll also hear from Rwanda, which is also still a country in the Eastern region. We'll hear from Thomas Ndayabaje, who is a senior technologist in the digital age infrastructure and platforms at the Ministry of ICT and Innovations in Rwanda. He comes with over 5 years of experience in infrastructure and connectivity projects. He holds a bachelor's in computer science and systems, as well as a master's in Internet of Things. Thomas has specialized trainings in telecommunications infrastructures, policy making in the digital age, 5G, DPI, and is also a certified project management professional. He's passionate about advancing digital infrastructure and connectivity to enhance inclusive digital services. So those are the 3 people that we'll be hearing from today. We will start off with Brenda from Uganda, from NITAU, who is on the line. Brenda, I don't know, do you have a PPT to use? You're able to?
Yeah, sure, I do.
Great.
Just requested to share the screen.
Yes, I've done that. We encourage all speakers to have their videos on, at least for our first, so that our participants can see and know whom they're talking to. I know Brenda is traveling, so it could be dark where she is at the moment,
Yes.
but at least we're here for the content that you've got for us. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Happy to be here. Allow me to show my face for these 2 minutes and turn it off, being that where I am, I can't control the environment, so I'll switch off my video. But I hope everyone has been able to see my face and put a face to the voice.
Could you use the slideshow so that it's bigger?
Yeah,
we're seeing
sure.
PPT, it's
Okay. All right, so I hope everyone was able to see my face, and I'll just continue without the video. Can you see my slides?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Okay, Brenda Manragoha from NITA Uganda. Our project managers, my bio site, I'll not go right into it. Today, I just want to look at the digital public infrastructure and the inclusion in Uganda, how we are addressing equity, access, and the representation in the digital age. Okay. Right. So I'll just start off with a small indicator. I've combined findings right from the Uganda Communications Commission, the NITAU survey report. NITAU is the National Information Technology Authority. I've combined also findings from the World Bank and ITU. And from that, I was able to average and see what we look like before even we go into the digital public infrastructure. What is our inclusion indicators? What do they look like? On the internet's access of things, what's reported is 52%, but of the 52%, mostly you find 18% of the women able to access the internet compared to the other part. Mobile penetration has been a bit more, but it's also, if you go into the quality and what these mobile phones are able to show you, then we lose the 70%, but we will keep it at that. Digital literacy is mostly high in the children of ages from 15 to 24, the non-children to youth of 24, medium to 25 to 39, and then the 40 plus, we see a very steady decline. of which that digital literacy, 60% of those people in each group, the average is they'll be able to read emails, search, and do documents. If you go back to go down into searching, we'll come to 40%. Then we do 25% to actually write a document, follow it up, and all these other skills of required in the digital literacy field. Wi-Fi, the costs are still very high in Uganda. Public ICT centers are not that much, so we come down to also the services are quite expensive. So I hope that gives you an oversight of where Uganda stands. 22.5% of our monthly income comes from buying just 1 gigabytes of data. So data is quite expensive in Uganda. So, but we'll see in the coming slides where they'll do it, where we see how we are trying to mitigate this and all. So with that indication, I'll just go straight into my presentation. The concepts of DPI in Uganda and East Africa, it's been very central to Uganda's digital transformation agenda. We have an agenda, it's part of our NRM manifesto, that's the government in power. It's part of the NDP3s of our countries, the National Development Program. So digital transformation has had a place in there. It includes digital IDs, where our national IDs are currently going through an upgrade. Before, what we did is mass registration, but it was not really a digital ID. Our cards were just physical cards. Right now, the National Information Registration Authority of Uganda is currently updating our IDs to be a digital ID as well, and on top of other digital ID solutions that we are building that are also based on the fundamental national registration ID. We have a mobile money, we have e-government services. We trying to promote them to be inclusive, to improve service delivery and governance across all people. And today I would just like to talk about the equity and the representation of many underexplored areas in the media, in the policies, and some of CPESA's findings on gender imbalance and limited coverage have helped us talk more and dive into this conversation. I will look and before we get in there, I just want to talk about a few of the DPIs we have in Uganda. I'll concentrate mainly today on two topics, on the ones that Nita is spearheading. UG Hub, that is a data application and data interoperability framework, or BUS. It's a system, a bus that enables governments to exchange data. It enables independent systems to talk without necessarily having to centralize their data. So through the use of APIs, a different government system can talk to a private system, can talk to another government entity with its different system. It enables authoritative data sharing at the source. So we can get rid of third-party vendors. It also supports the principle of collect once, use many times. It reduces costs, duplications across government, because what we are saying here is data exchange and interoperability coming out, API management and reuse. We are able to see data governance and security, analytics and decision support. And at the core of it, if I give a real life example of what this has helped us, before it used to take over 2 months or more to get a driving license in Uganda. Right now, you get it in a matter of 2 hours. Once you get in there, they're able to verify your information using the UG Hub platform. They're able to talk to other entities to verify your ID within seconds. They're able to verify your payment details. They're able to verify your address, all on the UG Hub platform in the back end, when the customer doesn't even have to know what's going on. So data is exchanged and prompts are done in time on top of payments, and then you're able to get your driving license in 2 hours. I will leave room for anyone who wants to ask more on this. So I'm going to briefly touch on these projects. The second DPI that we are streamlining with is the UG Pass platform, which is the digital authentication and electronic signature solution. So beyond the name, what you hear, digital authentication and electronic signatures, we also have what we call the digital wallet that helps you verify your government issued documents without necessarily having to move with them. So it helps you verify your passport, sorry, your driving license, your national ID, and any other means of identification that you may need, maybe in this ecosystem. I'll give you an example. If the police stops you and you need to verify this through the UGPass platform, you're able to generate your driving license in a digital form and you're able to verify it. And because it's powered by a public key infrastructure that that strongly secures your digital certificates and your identity online, we're able to all in that provide e-consent, provide your digital authentication for that. You're able to have signatures that are digitally valid and that will be able to be used. And the standards are OpenID Connect, so it's make sure it's supporting the DPI agenda. It's a W3 verifiable credentials, so at least we know our there is security in there, blockchain integrity and all. So we can see through these two projects and many more that I'll not get into that Uganda has DPI on its forefront on the digital transformation agenda. And it is backed up by a few policies that I'm going to just run through here. We have the Digital Uganda Vision, which provides a unified framework for IT development, ICT development, and digital transformation. It talks about the ICT rankings. It talks about how to improve your ICT infrastructure. We have the National ICT Policy. I was not able to find the final. I'm only aware of the draft, but I will send more information if I'm able to dig it up. But it just encourages digital skillings. It talks about the disability inclusion. It talks about the rural connectivity and the inclusion of marginalized groups. We have our broadband policy, the national broadband policy, which makes sure that there is broadband access through infrastructure investment and regulation. And we also have affordability on bundle pricing. So we're able to see that just last year, Uganda was able to bring down our pricing of data bundles and internet to almost half of what it was. It is still very expensive compared to our neighbors and near regions, but it's still a very good win from where we were and where we are heading. So it was a step in the right direction. I'll run through most of the other policies. What we have supporting these DPIs in the background is the Data Protection and Privacy Act. The matter is in the name. It talks about your collection, processing of data, personal data. This also has an office open to support this. They've been very adamant on their duties. They've been real life sanctions, cautions, and actually penalties for people who have been abusing this act. This is quite fresh to us. It's 2019, but I'm glad to say that in 2026, we're seeing it being really enforced across the country. So we have the National Cybersecurity Strategy and Information Security Framework, the Electronic Signatures Act, the cabling and cloud guidance. We have the enterprise architecture and interoperability framework, which is supposed to act as a blueprint of how different government systems should be designed to make sure they are inclusive, to make sure they are up to date on the data, and also make sure they're interoperable, make sure that they're talking to each other. We also have the national payment system, which talks about the regulations of how financial agents conduct themselves in the digital payment. So we have policies, but those they should be able in a generic way. We have a good number of policies because there's many more that haven't included here that should be able to help us make sure that we have inclusivity in our DPIs. But unfortunately, even with these, we still have a big number of people being missed out in these systems. I'm sorry, this does not look clear. I hope you can make out. I'm not sure what happened here. I hope you can make out what it's saying. So a lot of women, like I said in the earlier statistics, a lot of women don't have internet access, some because they don't have education. They're in marriages that do not allow them to be independent. It's still it still happens in the rural areas. If we move also to the rural communities, the children and the people, even both men and women, compared to who are in the urban areas, will not have the same opportunities. Now, why I used these DPI projects we have, UG Pass, the digital authentication and electronic signature solution. If someone does not have access to the internet to fill in their basic needs, or to even search or even be on WhatsApp, when are they ever going to use UG Pass to sign a document electronically? When are they ever going to understand public infrastructure? So all that, the low income citizens, like I said, it takes almost 2.5% of our income, of most of the average income of a Ugandan, to buy data. And if someone is living in adamant poverty, they are not going to put their money um, to data and internet, and so in a way they will not be able to access these DPI services. Not everyone still has national IDs. They've not. We've tried to include everyone. The national NIRA, the National Identification Registration Authority, which we call NIRA, has made it very easy in how they could do it by still making it a public and mass registration for our new digital services. But of course, there's still cases of frustration, long lines, in places for a very short time. Maybe there is some corruption in there. Some people are paying to get ahead of the line, the very long queues. So many things and also very, very key to notice, some people don't see the need of getting these national IDs if the purpose of this ID is not clear. So if I get a national ID, what do I get from this? This is another topic, but if I can just slightly diverge, if I'm not getting pension or disability benefits in a very clear and transparent way, so I would not know what the use of my national ID is. So if I don't have my national ID, I cannot access most of these services because they are all pegged on being able to identify you as an individual, your digital ID. People with disabilities, that comes down to the infrastructures of our countries, the medical things we have out there. Uganda is not a native English speaking country. We have over 54 languages. English is mostly for educated and people who have grown up in the city center in large urban areas. So it's very common to find, much as it's highly spread across Uganda, it's also very common to find, especially in people around the age of 50 and above, before education was made free for all, that would not know a word in English or be able to communicate. There's also the digitally illiterates who are not able to use the internet. Maybe their education was up to a point of just being able to read and write a few words and never got a chance to open their computer. I was able to access the computer from my elder siblings, but in school, I think at the age of 15 is when they brought in computers for us to be able to use. So, and that was a fairly high-end school. So for now, no, normally graded schools, if I'm getting this at the age of 15, some of them will probably finish their A levels, their O levels without ever having to use a computer because everything is written online. And if they get jobs that don't need computers, receptionists and all the admins, then it's very common to be digitally illiterate. Some just don't know how to use every service. Maybe they can open, but how deep their skills go, that's also a limitation. Okay, so I'll look more into the gaps now when I look into some of the DPIs that we gave. A quick recap, remember UG helps MDAs, those are ministries, departments, and agencies, to do real-time data sharing and service coordination. It's supposed to streamline services and reduce duplications, and also enhance efficiencies, like the case of driving license that I talked about. But like if you look at the people who are left out and in the previous slide, limited rural connectivity is going to restrict these citizens to ever have access to these services. If I do not have internet, I'm not going to be able to register for my for my driving license online. I'm not going to be able to register for my passport online. I'm never going to know about the good things that the government has done. If I look at the electronic signature platform, it works on smartphones and highly secure smartphones because of the reputation that that GGPass offers to be able to authenticate and offer the highest level of security and assurance that you are who you are. We are also limited by the updates, the version of smartphones we have. And I talked about in the second slide when I was showing uh, the what the ecosystem looks like. Much as people are buying smartphones, most of them are secondhand, used, bought from 17 different versions from what is on the current market. Most of them stop receiving updates, but most of them will get them for TikTok and maybe WhatsApp. And if they can maybe message in WhatsApp, then that will be it from them. But the limitation in their phone quality is going to limit their digital literacy. It's going to exclude them as low income earners, and it's going to push them in a category of digitally illiterate users. So some of the solutions and the policies we could and are actively working on, but could stand to also improve on, is to subsidize internet even further. Much as I mentioned that just last year, led by NITA, the government of Uganda was able to cut down the cost by half of what it was, but it still needs to be accessible. It's still not affordable to most of the population. We need to expand rural broadband and public internet access. If I just go back to the broadband policy, uh, yes, the national broadband policy. So this is one of the biggest winners in Uganda. It's happening right now through Phase 5 project. We are expanding to all districts in Uganda, the internet connectivity, but it's only to government entities. So government offices, but we still need to do the last mile that goes to the deepest village to get them connected. So that's why this is still a point of improvement on my presentation. As much as we are going to officially be able to say, yes, we have internet across all the districts of the world, I mean, of the country, it's still in government offices. It's not coming to my grandmother, it's not coming to her neighbor, and things like that. We need to simplify and decentralize the national ID registration. The mass registration ends, and then they move back to the offices. Offices are not widely spread out. Also, it needs to get to a point of, I know they have to capture fingerprints and verify your identity, but let it come a bit closer to the citizens. There needs to be a very solid move to make this registration possible. I, for one, if it had not come to my workplace, I don't think I would have renewed for this national ID because the offices are just too far. The lines are long, but they are really trying the best that they can. Multilingual support in digital transformation and digital platforms. Most of our policies, e-services are in English. We established not everyone speaks English. Uh, and we need to recognize that a lot of these, we are limiting ourselves in businesses, in outreach, and so much has been done to translate most of these services into other languages, but that does not easily come, especially with the IT projects. Now, I'll give you an example with UG Hub and the highlights of this presentation and UG Pass. They're not translated. We are trying to get translations in the next scope, and we still have to look for funding through the government and wait for next budgeting cycle. But that means for the 2 years, 3 years that these services are running, we are only working with a percentage of people and marginalizing the rest because they could be able to use these platforms, but if they're in a language so they can understand. We need to increase the digital literacy in our education and adult learning. Like I said, I personally started at 15. It's been better right now, but still a huge percentage of schools, especially government-funded schools, do not get to see computers. And if they do, it's in your final years. And I'm talking about right before you do your final primary education, your final O levels and your final A levels. That's when maybe in the term or two, and then there'll be a group of students who are sharing a machine also. There's still a lot of gap there. We need to find a way and enforce accessibility for persons with disabilities. A lot of people do not access these offices. Maybe they're visually impaired. Not so many of our websites have that capability to support them. And of course, we need to establish inclusive policy frameworks with community input, sit down with the community. There's a huge gap there. A lot of these policies end in our government offices, in different forums, and we're not talking to the people, we are not seeing. And it's after these policies are out there that we get delayed feedback, in my words, that we realize maybe we missed something. And yeah. So some of the indicators I believe will work for us is what I forgot to include there is to make sure in all these projects we are doing, let's first of all start off with clear reporting lines where we can be able to look at some of these indicators. There's still a gap there that the reporting we have an Apex dashboard in Uganda whereby the prime minister, the president, or someone has to look at all the government, all the services that have been offered by different government entities to the people, how they are working and how they are how they are performing based on the NDP targets that was set out for them at the beginning of the count. So that project is still not yet complete. So you can see there is a lack of measure. It may be there, but it's still very manual. It's still very time consuming for the people who have to send these reports manually to the overseers. So we also need to look at the access rates by women, the rural residents, the persons with disability. We can measure them with the digital literacy rates by regions and gender, income, portion of internet and devices, number of services in local languages and accessible formats. So this can be a very good way of we make sure that they are not even indicators, rewards, and something to show that if you are hitting these targets, then maybe we shall increase your budget to develop more things, or then that means this will be moved to another statistic. So user satisfaction from marginalized communities, we're going back to check on them, sorry, and then the reductions in service accessible. I hope I'm not running out of time. Let me try and hurry this up. Almost done. So if I look at the gaps versus the solution, affordability, like I said, this will talk about this maps to the subsidized internet and data bundles. We've done that. We've done a good thing, but we can still do more. We can still focus our projects and our budget to make sure that these are being catered for. Connectivity in rural areas, digital literacy, can integrate skills into education. The gender imbalance, that's when we look at the gender sensitive digital policies targeting women and children. We'll look at the exclusion of persons with IDs and the lack of accessibility for people. Okay, lack of accessibility with people with disabilities. So we can enforce these standards and make sure that maybe before you release a system, if it doesn't have these assistive technologies, then maybe it shouldn't be signed off. So that could be a good way to make sure. So my conclusion in my presentation is let's include DPI. Inclusion in DPIs should be intentional, not assumed. We should have this at the forefront, much as we I don't want to use the word claim, much as we say that we have inclusion by design, they should be, if I go back to the last system, if maybe we enforce that every system that comes out of here to be able to be complete, to be marked as complete, it should be promoting assistive technologies, then that's when we'll know that we are including our inclusion in DPI is intentional and it's not assumed. If our current systems risk, we need to enforce, we need to look at the risks of not enforcing inequalities. Sorry, that's a mistake there. We need to be deliberate. What are our policies saying? What is our monitoring and exclusive designs? Are they key to sustainability? Because are we just building systems and leaving them there, or are we following up to make sure that we are up, that these are actually sustainable and they are talking to all the different people. So the DPI is benefiting the people. When I talked about are we talking to the community about what we are doing? Are we sitting down with them and talking about it? Yeah. And just before I conclude, one thing I forgot to mention is Uganda is currently coming up with an emerging technology strategy, and it's been very encouraging to see how the Ministry of ICT has been going about this, and it's going to the different regions across the country and talking to uh, still government entities, but they're going as further down as to the LCs and the regional representatives to make sure that, oh, have you heard of IT, of AI? How can it help you? Of these other emerging technologies so that people know about it. So it's not all brim. There is still hope, but it's also good to acknowledge where we have our shortcomings and our policies and inclusion and how we are able to work through this. So thank you for your time, and that's it for my presentation.
Thank you, Brenda. And indeed, you've laid out what Uganda has done so far to bridge the gap, noting that this third dialogue is looking at gender equity and inclusion. And for those that perhaps joined along the way, we are tying this particular session as well as the ones we had before to the 50 in 5 campaign, which where Uganda also falls. If just maybe to share a preamble, or for those that may not know, the 50 in 5 campaign is a country-led global initiative on DPI, and its goal is to help 50 countries to design, launch, and scale at least one DPI component in a safe, inclusive, and interoperable way within 5 years. So this would now be ending 2028, and it was launched in November 2023. CIPESA has done a lot of work on DPI, and most of our conversations and public dialogues are going back to the research that we've done, the report that we have out on DPI, especially when it comes to the East African region. We've heard from Uganda. Brenda from NITAU has shared enough examples. We've heard about the UG Pass, the UG Hub, as well as the government enterprise architecture. For those that have questions, you're okay to use the chat. I see someone has put something in the chat. Please unmute and speak. It is okay. We still have at least 8 minutes for the Q&A when it comes to Brenda. And I think this was from Thomas.
Yes. Thank you, Patricia. Yes, I have one or two questions, but before I want just to thank Brenda for her presentation. I just want to appreciate the last two lines that Uganda is making policy frameworks, is implementing policy frameworks with community inputs. This really community input is important when developing policies or strategies, because if you have the inputs, it means you develop what they want, not what you want. This is one of the challenges we have, if I may say, in our country or somewhere else. Another important point for Brenda is that they have a shared dashboard of all statistics, and it is being shared up to the Prime Minister's office. This is really a good takeaway from my side. Now, back to the questions. I have a question, maybe it's not difficult. It's about data bundle, subsidize the internet, and offer affordable smart devices, and also expand the rural broadband and the public internet. I want to hear from Brenda about the strategies Uganda is being used or had adopted to achieve this. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any other question from the audience? But Brenda, you're able to unmute and first answer that. What has Uganda used to address these subsidies on the devices as well as slashing the internet prices? What
Okay.
strategy?
So for the slashing the internet prices, we mostly worked with the national broadband policy, which supports affordability through bundle pricing. So it forces, or not forces, it highlights the internet providers with what the global prices are like and what are the key factors that define these prices. So it helps you to be able to corner them into negotiations and talk about, hey, yes, much as broadband prices have been, I think we had been in an MOU for over 20 years. I'm not so sure on the durability and over 20 years. And once that had, we didn't even let that come out. I don't think we finished the 20 years, but we were able to use this policy to say, hey, I know we locked ourselves in 20 years, but let us be a bit fair. Maybe this was done in error. Let's look at what other countries, what Kenya is offering, what Tanzania is offering, and why are we paying more than double what they have? We did not reach where they are, but were able to scale it down to that. The other policies that were used to force this what is it called? That was used to force this conversation, I'm not very aware of, but I will maybe find out and send a note to the organizer. But what I know, we've also utilized World Bank funding to be able to purchase devices, at least for our government entities, and pairing with a few NGOs to be able to send out funds to marginalized communities. So when such initiatives come in, then also the providers are forced to compete. If there is an influx of devices coming through and maybe they're being offered at a much fairer price, then you'll see the big techs bringing down their prices. I think common to the Ugandan community for the marginalized group is the Nokias, and we've seen their prices coming down every time we've had maybe a partnership whereby maybe refugee areas are receiving phones. Then you will see that in that area, the phone prices go down drastically, and then the rest of the people who are not receiving these benefits are able to also get the other benefit of the reduced prices of a mobile phone. Yeah. So I think that's what I can talk about. The key strategies, I'll talk about those too.
Yeah, Brenda, maybe a quick one. Thank you. First of all, thank you for your response. Who regulates bundle prices? Government or mobile network operators or internet service providers?
Government, but I wouldn't say it has the all say on this is what the prices are going to be. That's not how it really works here. They will give you guidelines on what to follow, but there is no particular word or standing that says that the prices shouldn't exceed this, the prices shouldn't exceed that. So maybe that's one of our challenges in Uganda. I don't know if it's a challenge but it's also important to understand that they need to also allow for competition and businesses to prosper. Argument could be made, is there a good balance? Are they favoring the citizens or the companies? So yeah, not straightforward, but yeah, that's our situation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. We have Ronald. Let me allow you to talk. Yes. Talking permitted.
Thank you. Thank you. Patricia, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thanks a lot to Brenda, who I've been trying to meet over the last, I think, 7 months, but she has been dodging me. But anyhow, it's me, Ronald, from the Independent Magazine.
Yes, Ronald.
Hi, Brenda. 2 quick questions.
Yes,
one
please.
on the Yogi Hub. You said that I think where you are or where you've reached, I think some of the MDAs are now talking to each other, right?
Yes.
I was wondering if you could just maybe share with us how many of these entities are really talking to each other, and then what are they talking to each other about? If you could just give a little detail on that. And then in regards to the Yogi Pass, I don't know whether I should call it a program or whatever it is. Anyway, the Yogi Pass, could you just share with us, I mean, in terms of inclusivity, yeah, how this is working to help people with disabilities, especially people who are visually impaired, people who can't write, people like that, huh? How were you able to factor in these people who are such a big section in the Uganda public? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ronald. I do not have the exact numbers here, but I will give you that on UG Hub, we currently have roughly 90 government entities onto the platform and around 68 private entities. How it works is it's not a mandate across the country. No, we make the solution attractive so that many people can be able to come on here and use it. So the UG Hub works in a way that there will be producers of data, people who are actually availing their data that is supposed to be for public consumption, and then there will be consumers of data. These are the people who are actually utilizing this data that has been exposed. So one of the major producers of data, Anita, that provides IT policies, but our biggest is NIRA, that brings the national ID in a digital way. If you're able to, maybe a bank wants to give you a loan, so you're able to use the UG Hub platform and say, hey, check, is Robert male or female? Is this his national ID? Yes or no? Is this his expiry? Yes or no? And within seconds, NIRA through UG Hub is able to send back a response. And what you see on the back end is you being able to have your loan approved in a day or two to get your national ID in hours. So we have also the Uganda Registration Service Bureau, URSB. We also have Ministry of, we have the HSM system for the public service on there as a major producer, URA, Uganda Revenue Authority. So all these whereby you would have been able to walk in, you would have to walk into government services. They've added it as an extension of to all the different consumers that are on the UG Hub platform. Because before, what would happen is people would come to NIRA and connect with them privately. And then you would find that NIRA services are overwhelmed and are going down 3 or 5 times a day because they have to maintain 170 channels. Right now, they only have to maintain 1 channel. I wouldn't want to get so technical on how it works, but it also eases up on their work because they only have 1 channel where they expose their data and all the other entities work. So mostly we will see that there are 90 government entities, 60 government entities, and private entities, a lot more to come. But I would encourage us to focus on the impact it has had, how it has reduced our banking lines, our revenue lines, our lines in the registration. Right now, if you go to URSB to register for a company, it's done within the day. Our government salaries, I think for now, are much coming again through UG Hub. It got rid of ghost employees and things like that. I hope that answers the first question. Then for UG Pass inclusivity, I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, we do not have the sections of that included yet. That's why I'm saying now we have to go back and look for government funding and say, hey, we now want to make this readable to be able to be used with people who are visually impaired. We want to translate it into different languages. And we are currently restricted with budgets, and because we work through budgets and grants and loans that are given to us by other governments or people. So yes, UG Pass is not inclusive, and I had mentioned that earlier. It is easy to use. It works on a smartphone, but unfortunately, it's not, and that's why I highlighted it. It's a key service, but a lot of people cannot use it because It does not have the translations. It does not have the specialty technologies and the likes of it. But we have that in a scope, and we are currently looking for the funding we need to get this there. Robert, I hope that answers both questions.
Ronald, thank you.
Ronald, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brenda and Ronald, for that. Next, we're going to be hearing from Rwanda. We do have Thomas online. We have a question from Ivan. In the interest of time, and Robert. Okay, fine. But please make your questions quick, or you can also use the chat so that we do have other people, other two speakers. But yeah, let me see here. Thomas, please hold on. And okay, I see you've already gone ahead to do that. We do have, let me see. Yeah. You put your hands up, but I now don't see you. We had two other questions.
Okay, I can read some I see here. There was one from Ivan that said, in regards the latest changes to the national ID, what could be inhibiting their use in the current form, as locals attribute the lack of access to services to non-working national IDs. So right now, the old ones we have, the national IDs are not digital IDs. They're simply IDs that were printed out. And then we are currently, this is live as we speak, receiving new digital IDs. I cannot say, as this has not been formally released, if the new digital IDs are still not working, but I believe that was the whole aim of renewing our IDs, is that we can be able to use these to access digital services, to authenticate ourselves. But so far, our national IDs, even the ones that are not yet digital, are still able to support digital ID solutions like UG Pass. When you're getting onto UG Pass, you're able to create a digital identity by first scanning your national ID. We talk to NIRA, which is our registration authority, through UG Hub, and get back live information, scan your face for liveliness, and for liveliness features, we verify your face to the national ID photo, and that's done all within 4 seconds. And we are able to create for you a digital ID, and then you're able to access all these other services that are out there. So it could be a change management issue. It could also be what I talked about, the lack of proper digital literacy, that people maybe have these services and they don't know how to use them and how to access them, which just ties down to the inclusivity that we are talking about today. And in the interest of time, if I just quickly jump to the other one I see from Robert. Thank you. Okay, my question is, what's the status of the use of facial recognition in Uganda? Are there instances where the government misused violence to crack down on civil society organizations? I think this question should be for the Ministry of Security. I'm not aware of any case that has been there. Maybe my colleagues in the security department would be able to say that, but facial recognition in Uganda is still, it's in use, but it's still very low. It's still, I would dare to say, it's still under the percentage of 5%. Mostly, it does work in the airports, but that's for special screening. Maybe when you've been, when you have been identified for something or spot checked for something. You can also use it in UG Pass for, you can sign with your face, and that is after creating a digital ID. You can link your face to be what you use to sign a document. So the cases are quite there, but they are still very low. And again, comes down to digital literacy and what we're doing on capacity building. And so for the instances, I'm sorry, I cannot speak to that. I probably Ministry of Security or the security sector will be able to know which cases have actually happened. I'm not aware of any. Thank you. I think those are the questions I see. Patricia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brenda, I would suggest that you still maybe put some typed answers to the questions in the chat so that people can at least have access to those answers directly, so that we can move on. So Thomas, please share your PPT and let's use the next 20 minutes to hear from Rwanda, the perspectives, and please let's use just the examples that Brenda used. Let's make this more
Okay.
action
So,
centered.
are you able to see my screen?
Yes, could you use the slideshow so that it's bigger?
Okay, okay.
Voila, thank you.
Okay, is that okay?
Yes, yes, it is okay.
Okay, thank you, Brenda and the team. Allow me first of all to thank you and your team for inviting us in this this show, if I may, this show. So, and let me start by saying about the analysis by Chipesa that highlights that issues of equity, access, and representation remain underexplored, particularly in media narratives and the policy discussions. As you know, East Africa countries and beyond, we are scaling systems. So digital public infrastructure is the foundation of these digital systems. So it means it must be carefully designed to ensure everyone benefits. Now, due to this, we need to think about who benefits and who risk being left behind. As digital public infrastructure is the foundation of digital services in any country. So you need for identity, payment, and data sharing. So it must be designed during planning phase to ensure everyone benefits from it. So let me back to your first question. So let me start by saying that DPI, digital public infrastructure, has enormous potential for inclusion when it comes for national ID systems, online government services, mobile money, etc., etc. So we already know that the existing social inequalities, especially for women, exist in all sectors. So now, when it comes for digital perspective, really women left behind. So in terms of devices, skills, financial autonomy, and the digital participation. Let me first of also jump to the next slide to show you about this gap in our country. The first column is about mobile phones. The second one is about the smartphones and the digital literacy. So mobile phones include smartphones and future phones. So as you see, in now we are at 85.4% nationwide. So when you see in urban, the numbers speaks in the rural, male and female, the number speaks itself. When it comes for smartphone, we are now at 42%. So in urban is 68, rural 31, male 54, while female is 46. So digital literacy and the skills, also women have fewer opportunities compared to men. So, and remember, if they are not inclusive, it means you are creating barriers for them on economic opportunities. So the impact, according to the assessment we have conducted last year, 2025, is that in rural area, so women depend on their husband in most of the cases in using smartphones or applying digital services. But we have also found different reasons behind. We will see it. For digital literacy, you see, we are now at 67 56.2% nationwide. So in urban is 56.5, rural 43.5, male 53, and the female 47. So you see here the gap is not huge, because we have different programs, national programs, initiatives of learning, different campaigns for digital literacy, using also together with our partners, MNOs, development partners, etc., etc. Now, for formal identification and financial autonomy, you see, many DPI systems require, of course, verified identification. So now, in terms of inclusivity, this is not in our country, is not frequent. Maybe it depends on country or regional historical background or administrative barriers. But still, the inclusion is not 100%. So women may have access to mobile money, online services, as I said before, but the engagement is still low. Even in cases where a woman is able to do something, sometimes she depends on others. But this is not a DPI system, the problem for DPI systems. So yes, system may be designed inclusive by design, but in practice, you will found, according to our assessment, or maybe in your country, that men they often manage the transactions even for their wives. For safe participation in digital space, of course, as I mentioned before, due to digital literacy and the skills issue, women have limited capacity to interact with online platforms. But some of the reasons behind, one of them is about culture mindset. So some women say, yeah, no, this is not ours. I cannot be able to do this or that. This is for me. This is for corporate people. This is, I cannot do, my husband will do this, will do that. So it is a culture mindset also that creates barriers for them. But together we can down this. In our country, I will tell you what we are currently doing to remove this culture mindset. Also, women are disproportionately exposed to online harassment. Yes, privacy violation and digital abuse. Also, women fear about harassment online, so may discourage women from using online platforms and reducing their voices and visibility. So what I can say on this, key takeaway on this is that without intentional design, it can reinforce existing gender inequalities. And remember, if there is no inclusion, there is no impact. Yeah. So for question 2 about limited attention to how DPI affects different groups and the imbalance in voices shaping the discourse. Yes, it is true, because in some media and the policy debate, people or group discussions often focus on technical efficiency, national rollout, and the urban adoption, rather than real world impact on a marginalized group, such as women, particularly in rural area, low income communities, including women with disabilities, or younger women without digital access. So the perspectives that are missing from current DPI debates, you see, most of the debates always focus on urban people. Yes, they focus on urban people, and the organizers as urban people or corporate people. They are being conducted by urban people, and the events are corporate or always urban people. So in general, we may implement strategies to include even women from rural area. So this is why I started by thanking Brenda for the policy framework, where they develop policies, then they implement it after getting community input. Also, voices are rarely represented in policy consultations or public discussions for women or other marginalized groups. But for Rwanda, we have adopted different digital inclusion policies, strategies, and supported many programs and initiatives targeting women and the other marginalized groups, such as people with disabilities. But when it comes for DPI, really a gap exists. So we need to do much on this. Why this perspective matter? So first of all, if we adopt inclusive policies or strategies, there we have a fairness and inclusion. So yes, without diverse input, this is what really Brenda said. Without having the input, we will develop something which is not inclusive or reinforcing existing inequalities. Second, we will have responsive design. So systems that do not reflect the realities of users risk being hard to access, to use, or be irrelevant to the needs of those they are meant to serve. Thirdly is about policy relevance, sustainability, and the trust, and breed a better future. So breed a better future is about, today's digital inclusive. For us, we consider it as a human right. So if some group of people is not inclusive, so it seems like you are violating human rights. So the reason why we need to build a better future in order to avoid violating human rights. And also, if we include them, so you are turning inclusivity into economic opportunities and resilience. So before I conclude, I can give about the peer status in Rwanda. So some achievement and the challenge we are still facing. So we have different digital services platforms like Irembo. This is one example. We have a lot of digital payment platforms. Soon our country will launch a national DPI strategy. So they are in approval processes. Also, we have launched national broadband policy and strategy 2022 with a lot of achievement to be made, where I wanted to, by 2030, to achieve 95% of smartphones penetration in people with disabilities and women. So this broadband policy is targeting specifically women and people with disabilities. Also, we have a national digital inclusion strategy, a national data sharing policy. We have public key infrastructure. So this is a government agency in charge of now currently what they are doing is to offer digital signature the public servant and private sector in general. Also, we have this council, Digital Inclusion Council. So Digital Inclusion Council is the one of a subset of the department. They are learning really much in digital literacy. So basic digital literacy and advanced digital literacy. So the aim is to train 5 million Rwandans in digital literacy by creating 2,500 digital jobs. So we have a lot of policies. So this was just one example, but also we still have this challenge like the systems we had built before, so were fragmented. So to adopt a DPI or interoperability, so they are really costing the government a lot of money because some need to be re-engineered. Other need to be interpreted others. The language used before is not the systems that are being developed they are using. So we have many channels, but you have started it some. So now most of the 60 government-based platforms are now communicating easily, so you can get services quickly. Also, we remain with the challenge of device and the digital literacy is a still challenge, but also a lower participation of women in digital policy design. We found that is also a challenge we need to address. So you will see when there is a policy being designed, in a team of 10 people who is in charge of developing that policy, you will find maybe one woman or zero women there. So we need also to address this. Yes, as a conclusion, so evidence suggests that inclusion cannot be assumed. It means inclusion requires proof, not intention, not intention. So it means that we should not automatically believe in policy or strategy making. So a system design or technology must claim to serve everyone. Yes. Also based on today's living style. So yes, I have said this before. Inclusivity is a human right. Please let's consider it as a human right. If not, people will be violated in one way or another. Also, we need a continuous evaluation is necessary because we need to monitor using evidence, data collected, feedback received from users. So from there, we know where the gap challenge exists and where we can accelerate. Yes, no inclusion, no impact. So, and impact comes when all issues are addressed. I thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Thomas. And indeed, you've touched on what most people would refer to when they think about Rwanda and DPI, which is the IREMBO. Do we have questions from the audience? However, I would like to maybe bring this one first. Using the IREMBO example, where do you see issues of gender coming up, inclusivity as well as equity, given that it's been around for a while, and also noting that Rwanda is not part or not yet part of the 15/5 campaign, where Uganda joined last year in May. Where do you see IREMBO services or the one-stop center that Rwanda has in place? Where do you see these issues coming up, and how are you able to address them as you go along as a country?
Thank you, Patricia. The challenge is still, as I said before, is about devices. So smartphones is a challenge for women, as you saw in the previous presentation. So there's still a gap between men and women regarding devices, and digital literacy also is a challenge. So there is still a gap between men and women. Also, another challenge that I see is about cultural mindset. Let me give you an example of my sister. I have a sister, and the last born. The last born is now in University 1, yes, Bachelor 1. So when accessing Ilembo, my sister she was looking for a service. Then called my brother, the last born. Hey, you can help me to ask for this service. We were looking for driving test booking. So then the last born called me. He asked me he's on Irembo. He's trying to request for booking driving license. Then I asked, "This is for who? This is for our sister." I asked, "Imagine your sister. She didn't know how to ask this for Irembo." Then I stopped to talk him. Then I call my sister. So she told me, this is I know this is for yours. This is for you who study ICT. This is for our last born who is in university. He's you see this situation. So why you cannot go to Irembo? What is difficult there? You can, and he's a teacher. Imagine a teacher who cannot. So it is not about the skills. It's about devices. It's about her maybe mindset, mindset. So we need also to learn. We are learning for us, our country. We are learning different awarenesses to avoid such kind of cultural mindset.
Yeah, so there
I
is a
think I
lot of
responded
capacity
of things.
build.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Could you stop sharing your screen? If we do have other questions in the chat, no, from the audience, please use the chat and put your questions there, and he will be able to answer that. I see already you have a question here. They're asking for your email address, and the question would like to be sent directly to your email. This is from Hassan, and it's in the chat. So it's up to you to share your email address with Hassan. When it comes to data protection, I am not able to share it directly. You're on the call, so please do that. Next, we'll be hearing from Ethiopia. We do
Yes,
have.
I've seen my email.
Oh, great. You've put it in the chat, so it's a common or public knowledge for everyone now. Henok, Sise, are you here? Are you able to
Yes, I'm
unmute?
here. Yes.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Do you have a PPT? Do you need
Yes.
access?
Yes, I
Okay,
have.
go ahead. I'll grant you the permission to share your PPT.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. You can see the slides, right?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. So interesting contribution that we have heard from Brenda and Thomas, sharing the experience of Uganda and Rwanda. So from what we have seen from the previous presentation, that we can assume that DPI is a backbone for modern technology. I mean, modern economy. So it's a foundation that everyone has to be on board. So when we look at the Eastern African countries, countries do not start with the fully created DPI in one single moment. The countries evolved into DPI by integrating identity, payments, and data exchange systems. So the same evolution is taking place in Ethiopia currently. We can say that we had a late start. So in 2023, the enactment of a legal proclamation gave a recognition to a trusted national digital ID system for everyone in Ethiopia. So we call that our national ID system, we call it FIDA. So in 3 years, we have about 40 million people registered in these national ID systems. The Ethiopian National ID program conducted registration in partner with other entities such as the banks, the government office, telecom operators, regional office, and other entities. So looking at strengths, we have a universal registration for everyone in Ethiopia, so including refugees and people with no formal IDs. The enrollment for digital ID is free at no cost. There is multiple biometric data, so face ID, fingerprints, iris. So if one of the biometric data fails, like the officers are instructed to use other biometric data. So your ID is accessible depending on the device you have. The low-end device, it can be accessible. So SMS, USSD. So this makes it possible for people to use digital ID with low-end devices, and in most cases you are served with the registration paper. So when you go to the government office, you only need to provide that registration paper. So you don't even need to have a phone. So there is an offline authentication capability for areas with limited connectivity. And time to time, we see active promotion of women to register in this digital ID system. So these are the strengths of the Ethiopian digital ID. So when going to the second pillar for DPI, that is the digital payments, we can confidently say that Ethiopia is witnessing a shift towards a cash-light economy led by a number of financial players in the ecosystem. So the banks, the payment operators, the telecom operators, payment processor, payment switches, mobile money, wallets, these are all contributing to the Ethiopian digital space. So it's currently growing, but with that, there's also the reality of the digital payment barriers in Ethiopia. So one, we see infrastructure and access barriers. So limited POS terminals and merchants acceptance among the business. So we have a weak last mile infrastructure to support agents and devices. Our interoperability is at early stage. So these are the infrastructure and access related challenges in terms of adapting digital payments. So we have digital and financial literacy challenge. So 66% of women and 60% of men do not have mobile money. Out of the 140 million mobile account that we have, only 15% of are active transacting in the digital space. So these are also related to digital and finance literacy challenge that is prohibiting individuals from using digital payments. There is also a trust and security issue, the rising of frauds. So in 2024, we had 1.3 billion birr loss. That's equivalent to 8.5 million USD loss within our financial systems. So the lack of clear liability framework and the dispute resolution mechanism among issues within banks. So that creates the erosion of trust to use digital payments. So we do also have social norms that are being a barrier to digital payments, such as so most people use cards to extract cash instead of making payment to merchants. Digital transactions are mostly small in amounts, and P2P transactions, cash still dominates in terms of the amount and the value. So these data are, I've gotten this data from the recently released National Digital Payment Strategy. I have a friend from the financial sector, and also, so these are what they tell me, from the experience and from the report. These are the true digits of digital experience in Ethiopia's financial sector. So when it comes to geography, that's another barrier to digital payments. So we have only 16% of rural use digital transaction, poor connectivity, limited, agents, to conduct financial services. You are forced to use USSD, transactions, which is very hard to operate. So the urbans are they have a formal economy and much easier to digitize. In terms of awareness, also it's easier to be aware. But in rural areas, you are in the risk of being excluded if you are not actively involved. So another one, we have a gender issues, gender gaps. So there's a visible usage gaps among women. Only 16% of women use digital payments. Women, they are 24% less likely to own phones. So all this creates unproportional use of digital payments in Ethiopia. The last one I have is income. So low income users, they prefer cash. They have limited access to phones and connectivity. As you can see, these are the barriers of our digital and financial system: infrastructure limitation, literacy challenge, geographical constraints, and social norms. So data exchange is the third pillar for DPI. We have a national data exchange strategy in our Digital Ethiopia 2030. So this is probably at early stage, but we are seeing some government offices offering service in one-stop centers. So this is where we have different government agencies and government offices exchanging data to provide service to citizens within one roof. And so these are the trend that we are seeing. So it's not, I think the last time I heard it's about 40 something government office integrated in sharing, exchanging data. still at early stage, but those are the trends that we are seeing. So basically, this summarize my just brief observation of the Ethiopian DPI journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, this is a very interesting set of events. There's some things I also myself had not yet found out in the recent research done. I see there is a question, but also there is one in the chat, someone asking, why is there that gap in using mobile money, having 60% being men and quarters of that being women? Is there a particular reason why there is that? Women are not having access to these digital services? As you answer that, there is, let me allow this person. Please keep your hand up because I would like to give you the talking right. Let's see here. But as you answer that, Sise.
Okay. So I don't have the exact reasons why women are not. I think it's related to digital literacy. So if people are not familiar with the way things work, so they may tend to not use the service. I see. So like within my families and my surroundings, I think most people, if they don't, if something's not interesting, they don't use it at all, or they tend to shy away from it. So I'm thinking that might be the reason. Of course, access to device could also be another problem.
Okay, are you able to read the chat? There is a question from Aban Magayane. Aban, are you able to, let me first find.
So I think why do people resist to use mobile money? So that might be one problem. I think one on the report, like the recently released national digital payment strategy. So like they were talking about most people are forced to be in the mobile because of fuel. So now if you want to get fuel in the country, you have to buy it. You cannot buy it with cash. You have to buy it with mobile money. So I think it was saying that most people are being forced into rather than them wanting to be in the system. So that could also be we have a huge number of subscription, but only the active participants are very few portion. So maybe that might be the reason. And of course, digital payments. Digital literacy could also be another issue.
Yeah. And also, given that you're bringing the technical and implementation as well as access perspectives to the conversation, there is a question from Aban, who is a lawyer and a digital researcher specializing in private and judicial law with a strong interest in human rights, digital governance, as well as inclusive development in DRC. His question is asking, how can digital public infrastructure initiatives be designed and implemented to ensure genuine inclusion, particularly for the most vulnerable populations? You can answer this in relation to the work you've done in Ethiopia as well as across Africa, given that you work with different governments. And he's asking this in relation to what he's seeing in DRC, the challenges related to connectivity and legal identification. Then we also have someone, Addis. You can answer that, but I've given Addis the talking rights, then he will ask after you've answered that. Thank you.
Okay, I think one of the problem being within like developing nation could be like issue with the infrastructure and access. So like most remote areas they're not connected to internet. They're not connected to like the latest mobile data networks, the 4Gs and the likes. So those can be some of the problems that being a barrier. So another thing also, I think I have already said that digital literacy as being one of the issue. We could also trust. So people, if something's new, people may tend to have less trust when using digital payments, so they are more comfortable with cash, and cash is very convenient, and so all those things contributing to it may force people to stay and be conservative from using digital payments.
Okay.
Thank you, Henok. May I proceed? My question?
Yes, go ahead.
please.
Thank you. As you know, digital payment system in Ethiopia appear to be heavily influenced and controlled by the government, raising concerns about limiting competition, restricted private sector participation, and slower innovation in the financial technology space. The dominance of the government-backed platforms may discourage private investment in the fintech. So my question as a journalist, to what extent does the government control impact the growth of digital payment system in Ethiopia? As you raised in as an example of the oil system of payment, or only controlled by the government, and the government are the one of license that is the sole provider of the Ethio telecommunication. So even other partner of telecommunication is not allowed to enter in the market. Even the bank systems, other banks are still, the private banks are waiting the yes confirmation from the government, and they are begging to go to the digital market. Are private fintech companies given equal opportunity also to operate and innovate? Do you think, and I need your final comment, how does the monopolization affect service quality, pricing, and user experience? Maybe if your opinion as a researcher, or as the area of what measures are in place to ensure transparency and accountability in the digital payment system of Ethiopia. Thank you.
I think you have raised a number of questions. I think one thing is the Ethiopian financial sector is highly regulated. It's known that. But if you've seen recent developments, things are opening up, starting from permitting the Safaricom Ethiopia to play in the mobile money, to opening up. There are some developments I'm reading, but I'm not sure what's the current status. But there have been some news that development to bring in foreign banks to Ethiopia. So we know that it's highly regulated. I think in recent development we are seeing trends that things are opening. So that I'm just a technical person. I'm not a financial or a policy person. But in respect to private companies being playing up their part in the digital finance systems, I think we are seeing a number of private companies payment processors, third-party processors. I think those are private companies. They're not owned by the government, and some payment instruments are working attached with the banks. So I think we are seeing a number of those existing in the market, but it may not be open for everyone because we know that historically, and the financial sector is highly regulated. So is the telecom sector. So monopoly, we have only two companies providing service for internet. So even in terms of do we have the cheapest and cost-effective connectivity? I'm not sure, because as Tanzania, last time I was hearing, they have 27 ISPs in their country. So maybe I don't know. Maybe we need more competition to have that quality and that options for us to get a place to choose from.
Thank you, Sese. Think we do not. Do we have other? Okay, Thomas's hand is up. Please go ahead.
Oh, is it up? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe what I can add on what Enoch said about how to build a sustainable DPI. So there is we were digitizing government services session with a retired general, Singaporean retired general, once told us that when you bring a digital solution or you want to bring digital solution in the community, so connect with the citizen or the whole community, tell them about the solution you have, and let them to tell you how you implement it. But if you don't ask them to tell you how to implement it, and then you implement it without asking them, it means you are implementing what you want, not what they want. So there will be back and forth between you and them during the implementation process or adoption process. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas. If we do not have other questions, I will have my facilitators give us their parting shots, starting with Brenda, and then we'll come back to Thomas, and then we can complete with Cisse. Brenda, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, there you go. Just to wrap up your presentation and what you wish to see the region achieve at the end of at least 2028 when we're talking about the 15.5, but also going forward, even past the 15.5 campaign. And also, you could also tell us what Uganda has benefited from joining the campaign. We all know that it only joined last year, and what is more interesting for this conversation is that it was using the UG Hub as the flag joining the campaign. So what do you see as maybe as an advantage of joining the campaign, but as well as anything that has been of use joining the 15.5 campaign to Uganda?
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the participants for your active engagement and for the moderator and organizer for having me here. I appreciate the platform to talk about what Uganda is achieving and through the questions and interactions we are hoping to learn from each other. My conclusive remarks and what I would want to say will just be closely tied to what my conclusions were. And just hoping to see Uganda being more inclusive, more intentional in its inclusion of DPIs. Like I go back to my previous point of I would like to see assistive technologies like for persons with disabilities a must on all systems and all services that are out there. I would like to see the risks of excluding inequalities leading the discussions in all these. Our policies should also talk to that, and already we are in the right gap, but that's for Ministry of ICT, the ICT sector. What is the banking sector doing? What are in the payments? Are they talking to their communities as well? Our monitoring, yes, we are on a good step having a monitoring platform that goes up to the Prime Minister and the President, but how is it used, and are we seeing the results trickling down to changes? I like that Rwanda is paying its fuel with mobile money. That could be a good way to get us to use some of these things in a proper way, and it will force the digital inclusion and education across. So those will be my parting remarks. I'm very grateful that we're able to join 50 in 5. I was part of that and it was a good win for us. I'm yet to see many benefits, but it has been first and foremost the impact, the being in the spaces in rooms such as these, where you're able to see what's being done, you're able to learn firsthand, learn from other people's mistakes, and actually be exposed to the leaders in this DPI sector, what they are doing and how they are achieving things. So first and foremost, what I've seen very clearly is we are learning firsthand from others so that we don't have to trial and error through everything else. Like the Africans say, a wise man learns through experience of other people and not having to go through it themselves. So those are my concluding remarks. Again, I thank you for this opportunity and wish you all a very blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. We have Thomas next.
Thank you, Patricia. What I can wish East African countries do, or Rwanda in general, is to make digital public infrastructure adoptable for all by combining inclusive access, digital identity, literacy program, developing protective policies, and interactive service design, but by ensuring no group is left behind. Also, what I can see Africa or East African countries do is to make sure we are year by year increasing smartphones ownership percentage in both group, with disabilities, youth, and all citizens in general. Maybe if we can have like setting a milestone also by saying that if it's possible by 2030, at least to have 95 or above of youth owning smartphone, and also at least 85% for people with disabilities own smartphones. Also, we need to work together to learn different awareness campaigns to increase the level of confidence of our citizens. So, other than that, I just want to thank you for moderating today's conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas. And indeed, I share your thoughts when it comes to bridging the digital divide as well as addressing the last mile issues. From Ethiopia, we have Sese.
Yes, so for DPI, I would like to see DPI helping efficient government services. Not only that, I would also like to see DPI enable me to do cross-border transactions, the travel and cross-border payments. So those are the kind of things I would like to have. But for that to happen, we need to have more digital literacy awareness, the trust and the use of data. So like when we do all that transaction DPI, so I would like, I want to know who is using what kind of my data. So that aspect also very important. So that's it.
Thank you, Sese. Indeed, it's been a very informative session, hearing perspectives from Uganda, Rwanda, and Ethiopia. This wraps up this session on gender equity and inclusion. We'll have our last public dialogue on DPI for this series next Tuesday, same time. I'm going to share a link in the chats for those that have not registered for that particular session. You can go ahead and it's going to be dialogue 4, talking about cross-regional learning. And here is the link for those that have not registered yet. It will be next week. And also I'll take this opportunity to talk about the CPESA annual conference that is coming up later this year, September.
Sorry, a little bit. Are we supposed to register again too?
Yes. Yes, we have different links for different dialogues. So you're registered for the 3rd one. So the 4th one is a whole different one.
Noted, yeah.
Yes. I'm also going to share another link for FIFA Africa, which is the Forum on Internet Freedom in Africa. The one for this year is going to be in Mauritius from the 30th of September to 1st October. Here is the link. And today happens to be the opening for registration, April 7th. Here is the link to all. Yeah, all this information is on our website. Please go ahead and interact with the links, and see you next week, same time, same date, next week, Tuesday, for the 4th dialogue, which will be wrapping up all the 4 sessions that we've had since we started this. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Patricia, bye.
Thank you, Patricia.